Welcome back after our energy clearing session here together. My name is Jona Bryndis, and this is the transCODES Karmic Collective Clearing. Is a free community event. Welcome and thank you everybody for attending. We just went through an energy session together, live with commentary, and I want to send my gratitude to all of you who came here live and who posted during our session. This is very challenging and unusual. Here at transCODES, our energy training sessions are all live. And as we are practicing to unfold, to unlock, to practice, to train our spiritual organs in this way, we also go in with a particular purpose. Today's purpose on 4th of July 2025, this Karmic Collective Clearing session was dedicated or designed to help us tune in or align to true peace. In the energetic forecast for July, I mentioned the issue around peace, and that the way we perceive peace, often just sort of as a matter of geopolitics, resources, or nuclear weapons, is not actually enough to understand how we as a whole humanity can bring about peace. So as our collective is in this state of making everything about oil or financial markets or currencies or territory, we are more or less as a collective ignoring the spiritual reality underneath this expression, this sort of unstable time right now, where so many of us think about or talk about the threats of war and pull up sort of this imagery of fear and devastation. This is very, very important when we want to really align to peace as individual. So in this karmic collective clearing, we are basically trying to remember that the collective is us, and yet it is not. That there are two distinct sort of realities to our human collective. There is this sort of group, soul group development, and then there is this individual development. And our society, our modern society, is very much sort of focused on individualism. And I want you guys to reflect on this for a moment, because this was relevant here in our session. As we were in this session, I was not just sort of holding the field and filling it with the resonance of peace, but also worked with your personal energy fields. And there is a very important component here that we're often not aware of. Many of us spiritually inclined, spiritually inquiring individuals feel lonely. We feel outside of what we call the collective. And yet we try everything to belong and feel that there is sort of a rejection energy in that. So in other words, we try to belong to something that we don't really want to belong to. So we are very, very conflicted here. Yeah, thank you, Tracy, for bringing this up during the session. This was really, really important and absolutely on point. Because the main healing impulse in this session was to investigate and then overcome this barrier between the individual and the collective. Just not in the way our society suggests that we do that. Yeah, our society suggests that we, globalize everything, that we centralize our global markets, and that we make everything equal. And that does not work for a spiritually aware person. Not that we all have this as a moral impulse. Yeah, that of course, yeah, we want to respect and we want to honor everybody. But at the same time, we're experiencing this spiritual pain and sometimes also emotional pain with others. Yeah, this is beyond just not feeling good enough or not feeling like we can succeed in this society. This is bigger. And I want to first take the opportunity here, after reading all your guys' energy fields, that what you are feeling as what I just called spiritual pain, this is actually real. This is a thing. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and that has to do with us not able to harmonize with what is not sort of in alignment with these higher vibratory, these spiritual values, yeah, such as, you know, happiness and peace and fulfillment and truth and freedom and love, not the romantic love, but loving one another, harmonizing one another. So everything that is not aligned to that, on some level repels us. But at the same time, with our already, pretty far advanced spiritual awareness, we are also feeling that we should connect more, that we need the deeper connection with others. And because we don't have a solution for this, because we don't know how to balance this, how to harmonize this, we actually end up in a very similar place like those that we, criticize or don't or can't connect with. And that is that we sort of built this wall around us and, sort of make it difficult. We're trying to connect with people that don't even have the same values as us. And this is for many of you, you've heard me say this many times before. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with our values, there's nothing wrong with who we are. We're just trying to belong to people that don't have the same perspective, that don't have the same outlook on life and on the world. And so what we need to recognize here is that the fact that others don't have those values or don't strive for the same thing doesn't mean that they are mean or that they're hostile. In some cases, yeah, where there's an outspoken ideology, say, or dogma, yeah, that goes against people of a certain skin color or hair color or belief or whatever, sure, there, that's common sense. There you have true hostility. But even that is part of a lack of understanding, a lack of understanding of our origins, of our past, and especially a lack of understanding of where we are going. So, if we want to overcome this barrier in us, and if we want to harmonize, yeah, that which we perceive as our I, yeah, our I am being, the conscious spiritual person in us, with Yeah, the state of unconsciousness in our collective. What can we do? We can, of course, go into an attitude, something like, well, if you're not with me, then you must be against me, which is pretty much what I called ideology or dogma earlier. Or we can go, this is probably more typical for us spiritual seekers, go into the victimhood and say, all I ever wanted was to belong. All I ever wanted was to love others, was to be kind to others, was to harmonize with others. And you see, both of these attitudes make us not being able to harmonize. The only way for us to fully understand how we sort of can have inner peace while sort of watching still the majority of the collective, yeah, our society, not being there yet, yeah, in that sort of wider spiritual understanding is, for example, this is what I suggest, is to look at our collective like a school or a training camp, and we have different grades or different tiers, and depending on maybe how long these people have been in the training course or how often or what grade they're in, they will have a better understanding of sort of what it is that they need to learn. So if you're talking to kids in kindergarten, you have to conceptualize things with them differently than when you're talking to a third grader or to a sixth grader or to a 10th grader. And what all these different ways of talking and interacting with these kids of different ages, of different developmental stages have in common is that they all have the seed, yeah, to become you as well. Not the same as you, but to become an individuated, yeah, soul self, a person that knows who they are and where sort of their power resides. Even if they, at the age of 5 or at the age of 9, at the age of 13 or at the age of 18, don't know this yet. In other words, I don't mean to sound, or I don't mean to suggest superiority here. I mean to ask you guys for patience. We come, if you look at our humanity, from a place where we didn't have to think through things. We just had to follow dogma. Yeah, that's why we criticize religion so much, because, religion mostly offers just rules and traditions and, procedures or rituals. We are now in a different time. Yeah, we are now in a time where we as individuals can connect with the divine through our own heart, within ourselves, through our sacred heart. This wasn't there before. So we need to get this all together, yeah, how this works with, internet and knowledge and, having sort of access to so much, okay, while, not really trusting in this core of who we really are, which is not the physical. Yeah, so the main difference between an I am being an individuated soul self, or the true self, as I call it shorter, and an unconscious person is that the true self already knows this. Yeah, it's like if you just graduated from college and you're talking to a first grader, okay, and you understand that because of the age, they cannot know this yet. Yeah. And so our job here as we sort of clear ourselves from the ties. The ties are, conformism, or, wanting to belong, feeling not good enough. Just in general, those are sort of the things that our society promotes right now, yeah, through media, social media, and so forth. But at the same time, we already know that we have this light in us. We can already connect with our heart. And the only way for us to sort of truly clear those, whatever it is, the pain, the suffering, the spiritual pain that I mentioned earlier, and sometimes also actual 3D rejection, yeah, is by being patient, loving our neighbors regardless. Not, of course, there's a certain common sense to this, so don't, mistake this when I say this, or somebody threatens to, hurt you, then obviously you don't have to like love them to death, okay? Yeah, but beyond this, beyond sort of your own actual survival instincts, the wisdom that comes out of this knowledge that we are not just physical beings, but in actuality, spirit beings that are having a physical experience. That wisdom, okay, can carry you through. As for our future, guys, when we go caught in this confliction that I mentioned earlier, and so busy with ourselves and that we're not good enough and that we're not belonging and all that, we lose touch with where we are going. Where we are going as a humanity, just like how you could say this to a third grader. Okay, one day you're going to be in middle school, one day you're going to be in sixth grade, and then you're going to be in high school, and then you're going to be in college, and then you're going to go, and hopefully find the kind of work or the kind of profession that you really love. Yeah, we can say this about the collective development as well. Our next stages of development as a humanity, as a whole collective, are very bright. Yeah, we're just not quite there yet. We're maybe in, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, as far as sort of the understanding of that is concerned, with a few exceptions. You are one of those exceptions. For you, just the fact that you're here today, an energy healing session, talk to a materialist, they're going to call you crazy. Of course, they're going to call you crazy, because for them, something like a spiritual reality doesn't exist. And yet you're here. And we name it. And as you know me, I make a big effort to bring all these spiritual terms into a systematic way so that everybody can have access to the inner experience and learn this, yeah, by using spiritual science and, my own experience. Yeah. So the fact that you are here and that you're listening or watching this video right now, yeah, means that you've already graduated from elementary school. Okay. And that means we have to be patient. Our future as a humanity is indeed that which you have already learned, namely that we remember the spiritual reality of our being. Yeah, and that our evolutionary process doesn't end with our physical death, yeah, but that there is a carryover. And therefore, everything that we can learn to transcend, to heal, to balance, to harmonize in this lifetime will greatly benefit ourselves and ultimately with that also our collective. So with you guys coming here today, you have already paved the way for others. Yeah, this is why when we go into this understanding, Yeah, that the collective sort of is in the process of developing there. And we're willing, regardless of our pain, yeah, to show up. Yeah, we are expanding our light. We're letting our light shine for others to follow. This is the future, guys. You are the future. The others just don't know that yet. In fact, they can't remember it. So, for now, for this session, I just want to keep it here. I want to thank you all for contributing in this way. Because when you begin to feel spiritual reality, you're never alone. You can feel all those that walked on the path before you. You can see all those that are on the path with you, just like how we are seeing each other right now. And you can even sense the ones that will be on this path after you. Don't buy into this fear-mongering, guys. These wars, these things that are going on right now, that are transformative for our society, no doubt, are necessary. They are part of our collective karma. And so, just like how as teenagers we need to go through our first big heartbreak, okay, we're gonna have to watch this and not give up on others. Yeah, remember that it isn't until you can see the spiritual reality of these outer 3D events that you can make sense of them. In my forecast for July, I offered sort of with hints and tips, sort of what this whole war talk is even about. And if you paid attention, you could hear me mentioning sacred sites. So a lot of the world wars in our world are about certain energies at certain places on the planet Earth. And what we're seeing right now is fated. It's fated. It has to happen. Okay? And there's factions, and some factions want it for the wrong reasons, and others want to protect it. But at the end of the day, what we need to understand here, yeah, is that our future is no longer in sacred sites or in items or in buildings or in land or DNA or any of these tribal, national, physical binds. It is in our heart, in our inner temple. Yeah, this is the power that I talked about here during our live session, guys, that we forgot we have. Each and every one of you can build their own inner temple. Most of you here watching this right now already have. Now, open the doors and let others see your temple. Come out of the woodwork. Yeah, don't hide. There's nothing you need to protect. So that's my plea to you. Yeah, don't fall for fear. Harmonize and work on peace, but not just sort of like, oh, I wish world peace. No, peace starting from within your own attitude. Yes, Sabina, I agree. We are in grace time. That's actually a cool term. Does anybody want to comment anything, add anything? Maybe share a little bit about what you felt during the session. other than, I commented throughout the session how the energies moved here.
Jona, hi.
Hi.
I was awake, but I thought the timing was different, but I was definitely there. I could feel, I was like, oh my
Yeah, you were
goodness.
there.
Like,
I saw you.
oh my God. Oh,
Mhm,
that makes me feel really good.
mhm.
It is so intense. It's such a fine tuning. I can't explain it, but it's quite intense, this piece that wants to come through. And I'm like, I'm just worried I can't contain it.
Yeah, this is our conflict. This is our conflict. It is not easy. Yeah. See, we are trying to belong to something that is innately not peaceful. Okay, so we're going to have to clear those unconscious sentiments and think and feel this through for ourselves. How many times a day do I have unpeaceful thoughts? And constantly correct myself, constantly correct ourselves. Yeah, this was sort of the main sort of healing resonance was self-correction, constant balancing, constant harmonizing, asking ourselves to not think in certain terms. Because our thoughts, yeah, just like everybody's thoughts, they take on a spiritual reality. And that is then what forms the karmic collective field. Yeah, so if we want to contribute, and that's why I thanked you earlier, already anticipating this, that you contributed, by trying to overcome this barrier, by trying to heal sort of and self-correct our own inner unpeacefulness. Okay, yeah, we're breaking this loose. We're breaking this grid of unconsciousness and untruth and unpeace, breaking this open and filling it up with our light. So, in that way, each and every one of us does contribute when we make the effort to work on it within ourselves. This is the hard part for all of us, to realize that it starts with us, it happens within us. That's where it happens. Yeah. So, in many of our sacred self healing workshops, yeah, we talk about examples, we talk about practices and ways, yeah, how we on our own inner self healing journey experience this and how we can sort of work this. Yeah, and when we do this together as a community, it's always easier than when we try to do it on our own. So, this individualism that we have developed as a consequence of this, what you just said, okay, is what distances us, is what sort of tightens up the collective karma. Yeah. So basically, if, in simple words, if you want to imagine it this way, we have to resolve this within ourselves. There's a time in our life where we really need to go within and resolve this for ourselves. And as soon as we have resolved this within ourselves and we can open our heart, then we go back outside. So we first have to sort of clarify our own identity as spirit beings. Yeah, I call this lovingly spiritual attendance. You know, you have to raise your hand and say, I'm here. Okay. And when you do that, okay, that's then when, you know, your values that I mentioned earlier and your ways of thinking and your ways of interacting with other people, they start to change because your inner repulsion to things that don't match up, yeah, or people who are selfish, for example, or people who are just straight out mean or narcissistic or like there's multiple ways how this repulsion comes into expression for us. Yeah, that is your way shower, that is your inner guide. That tells you that there is something there that does not align with you. And this doesn't mean that you're not good enough. This is the mistake that we do. It means you got to go look somewhere else. That's not a person that you want to connect with. And that doesn't mean that you have to hate them or that they're bad or that, no, it just means that this is not your tribe. This is not your crowd. Yeah. So what we need to learn is to stop victimizing ourselves or vilifying the others, because both of these attitudes are hostile. They are unpeaceful. Yeah. And instead going into inner peace, and out of that place, then, we can embrace sort of that which needs to come to an expression, that which needs, what we need to go through, yeah, to evolve as a whole humanity. Yeah, I know this sounds a bit gloomish, but I mean this actually in a very optimistic way. Yeah, the gloomish part is our ego that is afraid of the apocalypse or everything coming to an end. That is not going to happen, guys. I can promise that to you. I've seen the future. Yes. Okay. Let's close here, guys. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure. I feel amazing after our session. So, me too. I've loosened up some of these ties, and I hope that you guys all, if you're in the United States, have a beautiful 4th of July celebration. If you're anywhere else in the world, have a beautiful day or night. And I see you very soon. Thank you very much.